Good morning. Morning at 10 TV is where you are. My name is David Rukasi. If you've just joined us, well, just a few minutes past the hour of 8 o'clock, 17 to be exact. And the guys on our Facebook page, thank you very much for being part of the show. Robert Wambale, you say good morning. I am live. Thank you very much. Sophie Arnaitwe, good morning to you. Teddy Ladibo Ntongo, good morning to you as well. Tina Aya, you say good morning, Uganda. Joy Nicole, good morning. Yabu Fiku, Kogonza Sandra, Andreas Kagwa, Anong Emma, Nabushu Violet, Ivanovio Murphy, Facebook names. Ariho Adams, Sozi Mooks, Isaac W. Bridges. Thank you very much for joining us this morning on Morning at 10 TV. And for all the guys that I haven't mentioned, but you are streaming live from wherever it could be. The guys in the United Arab Emirates, in Europe, wherever it is that you're watching from. Good morning and thank you for joining us. Paul Mwansigwa, our guy who is in charge of Fit in 5. I hope that our Kickstarter conversation has sort of cleared your worries. I was a bit worried when I saw you seated here on the stairs as you were preparing to get our bodies ready for that day. Your mind didn't seem to be ready for that day. But now, time for us to switch from that and to our Tech Note conversation today. And 2021 is around the corner. Uganda is preparing for yet another set of general elections. And this morning we ask, where are we? Yes, what are the lessons learned from the past experiences that we need to carry forward to the next election as we mark 10 years of the Citizens Coalition for Electoral Democracy? That is this month. What should be done differently as we move forward as the country prepares for the general election 2021? What are the achievements and what are the challenges so far? And joining me this morning for that discussion is none other than two very interesting people from Citizens Coalition for Electoral Democracy in Uganda. Charity Ahimbisiba, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. My other guest is Herbert Anderson, Deputy Resident City Commissioner, Nakawa Division. Anderson, that's very interesting name. Your parents were hip. They didn't like these names of...
Actually, they do. They just didn't want to put my other name, which is Borora.
Borora?
Yes.
Who does Borora mean?
So Borora is an African name that different dialects would attach it to something else, but it means to see.
To see?
Yes.
Borora.
And I indeed see. That's why I don't have spectacles.
So in other words, you're blaming your... your teammate this morning for not seeing.
I'm not, that is your, I was just describing myself.
Brother, nice to have you this morning. Recently I learned that many of us have names that we don't know what they mean.
It's true.
So I think it's very important for us to know what our names mean, so that we are not just called names. I know of a friend of mine that found out what their name means, and right away went to their parents and told them, I am not having this name anymore. So I think we need to find out early enough so that we know whether we need to change or not. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us this morning. First of all, congratulations. We're going to be marking 10 years of Citizens Coalition for Electoral Democracy. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What informed your decision to joining this space? For starters, as we mark 10 years, how did you get into this space?
Good morning to Ugandans and a good morning to you. CEDU, like you have known, is the Citizens Coalition. They decided, and I think this was a dream of Dr. Livingstone Sewanyana. He is the founding member, and he dreamt of a country that would have free, fair, credible election. After reading his constitution, he's a lawyer by training and has a doctorate in law. So after reading the constitution and saying we need free, fair, credible elections, he began to think that yes, if the constitution provides that the only way we can peacefully change elections in Uganda is through free, fair, credible elections, then what does free mean? Free means that there should be participation from all people. What does fair mean? Fair means there must be a level ground for people to play out, all political actors on the scene. And what does credible mean? Now, that is the big elephant in the room. It has issues of inclusivity, it has issues of integrity, it has issues of transparency from all people, but especially from Electoral Commission and from people that hold the power. So how do Ugandans, how would they relate to that power circuit? So he decided that there should be an outfit that tries to bridge the gap between the government entities and the local citizen, muntu wa wansi, like me.
Wow. That is not an easy space to get into.
No, no, no.
That is, when you talk of transparency,
inclusivity, credibility,
fairness, credibility, and you're talking of politics.
Yes.
Democracy is interpreted depending on which side of
and you're going to hear my friend here.
So it is a hard space to get into.
Very difficult space. Very difficult because you will be wrongly judged most of the time. You will be called opposition when you state a fact.
Yeah.
You will be called unjust. You have ill motives when you see something that you think is going off the path. I'll give examples like when we go for by-elections and we see fictitious polling stations and we raise a red flag. The moment we hit the press and tell the press that there is a fictitious polling station that has been established in this area, then there is a problem for us because then we are already raising questions about the credibility of that electoral process. It happened for us in Rukunjiri, it happened for us in Jinja. Thankfully for Rukunjiri, Electoral Commission was able to take action and called in the police. The police investigated the issue and found that actually it is true. There are fictitious polling stations that had been created by some entities, and those polling stations were pulled down. But for Jinja, they did not entirely buy in. There was a lot of politics that played out. The NRM people said, no, Sedu seems to be siding with Paul Mwiru. Paul Mwiru was saying, no, they seem to be on the side of NRM. So it is difficult for Sedu because you sit in a space where the government side points fingers at you, the opposition points fingers at you. There are people who say, you're in bed with government. And then the other side says, you're in bed with opposition. So it is difficult to toe the central line. But truly, non-partisan it is for the Citizens Coalition.
Sedu is marking 10 years this month. As you can clearly hear, they are claiming to be non-partisan. They say that space is very hard. Do you feel, you as Anderson, do you feel Sedu, 10 years now that they have been around, they have had any impact?
Well, I think it would be unfortunate if I said they have not contributed anything towards the electoral processes. But then it would be also another way if we said that there are also other players in this field who have been doing quite also another good job. And the electoral processes in Uganda, totally, as if I am to hinge it on what she says, is your job becomes so hard sometimes because of the way you have presented your case. It would be hard if there is a reason as to why Mwiru would say that you are their side, they're siding with them. On the other side, the why I would actually also put it to them, and this is a discussion we've had before with the Sedu and Charity in specific, is when you try to focus the attention to a specific wall, forgetting that this wall has other attachments on it. The issue of electoral processes is a cross-cutting issue. And if you are to address it, you don't have to look at one side. And specifically, I think that is why they have had issues to articulate maybe their business and work. Because they totally think that work of improving electoral processes is totally work of government. And for them, the only thing they can participate in is to identify problems and attach
to
it
highlight
to
where government has failed.
Where government has failed, but they also put it clearly that they have no participation and role to play in that. And that creates a gap whereby you don't want to participate in improving the processes, but you want to keep highlighting. And electoral processes and reforms entirely are not based on, are not put up for, you know, for identification and writing and text. It calls for civic engagement, education. It calls for, you know, standing in the middle and say, my brother, you are wrong, and you also wrong. I gave an example, like when we were going in the 2016 elections, there is a political party that clearly put it that we are going into this election and we are going to win it by defiance. And we are going to win it whatever the case. I have never had any statement from SEDU. If it did, I'm sure I might have been up country, maybe in the village where I usually go. But I have not seen critiques, because these are some of the defranchisements in the processes, whereby you have to rebuke, you know, all parties involved in the process that you are administering, to tell everyone that this you're doing is wrong. But when a certain statement is made, maybe from government or from a government official, or maybe an NRM person, or when an act is done by an NRM candidate, then that raises the red flag. And that makes the whole process sham. It makes the whole process vague. And when the other party is also involved in this, those similar activities, then it is not to blame, and someone will just tap your back, you're doing good. And that is why over time, I think, you asked as an individual, what do I think? That is what is making SEDU and the charities work hard. Okay. That for the 10 years they have drawn lines. Some civil society organizations have clearly drawn lines that we are here but for this. And when time calls for a balanced, participation, for the inclusivity she was talking about, it becomes hard for other players to comply, simply because the process you have exhibited before implies that you are there for someone else. Okay. So the issue of correcting mistakes and the issue of making sure that these processes are put in the right directions are cross-cutting, and SEDU and other players and NGOs should participate, should get involved, not on a one-sided bed, but also to clear the whole bed or platform. Because these are civil society organizations and government organizations that are supposed to aid all parties, help government, help the citizen, help other players. Okay. But if you don't, create a semblance of affairs whereby everyone is accommodated, even your work becomes hard.
Charity, he has a point. He has a point, and very many Ugandans will agree with him that many times when you listen to, every time you've had SEDU come out to say something, it's always bashing government or what they are doing. There are very few statements that have come out to support any proposal from the government or what they are doing, which kind of leaves very many wondering, there's nothing that they have done right that you have felt as SEDU that you should support. And it also pushes you to the side of, oh, that is opposition now. They're on the other side. They're here just to light that torch and point us to where what is going wrong. So you understand where he's coming from? Yes,
I have had this before, and he has just told you that Charity sits in a very difficult position. I want to reiterate that when SEDU set out 10 years ago, 3 missions that drove it. 1, election observation. Observing elections requires that you keep track of processes from opening to polling to counting and tallying and results. Now, there are a number of things that are involved in that. Then there is what we call the pre-election season and the post-election season. All those seasons come with issues that affect the final result. That is one area. The second area that SEDU interested itself in was the whole question of electoral reform advocacy, which he has alluded to. Electoral reform advocacy, as you look at it, electoral reforms can only be instituted by the government, because as civil society, you can only provide the information to Parliament. Parliament reviews and then decides that these are the reforms we are carrying or not. But thankfully for 2016, the judges agreed with what they had read in the observer reports, that these areas here need clarification, and named 10 things in agreement with what SEDU was raising with other players in civil society. Now, SEDU is a coalition, like I said, of over 850 civil society organizations. So these civil societies believe in that cause, the cause for electoral reforms happening to improve the process for credibility purposes. Now, the third thrust is the whole question. Now, that one is the fanfare, where we enjoy, where we've done campaigns like Topowa. We've done things like votability, honor your vote, because the Constitution says that you have a right to vote. So we do that fanfare. Please come along with us, and we inspire Ugandans. I want to say, if SEDU was not there, I don't know if people would have been inspired. The trust levels would have completely gone down. Because of its Topowa campaign, on the other side, we saw a 68% turnout for voting in 2016. And the Electoral Commission can acknowledge that.
From which part?
So I've said 68% of Ugandans, so it's not about political parties in this instance.
I'm saying from the previous percentage, which was?
A previous percentage had been 42. So we went up to 68, which is a very good thing. But the question you asked me, which I might look like I was alluding, was the question of you being viewed as opposition and never praising government. I want to interest you to read the observer reports that SEDU puts out. Those observer reports have been balanced. Where it is that they have scored, they have been praised. And yes, there are many times when we have blocked the opposition and said, here, you've gone wrong, you've overstepped the border. And there are many times when we've been at elections where NRM wins, like in Nebi. We just finished the Nebi by-election, and we praised what took place in that by-election.
Charity, what has been what would you say has been your biggest achievement? Well, I want us to take a chain of questions because we don't have a lot of time.
Okay.
What has been your biggest achievement?
One of our biggest achievements is that voter turnout going up because of our votability campaigns, because of our honor your vote voter education campaigns.
What has been your biggest challenge?
One of our biggest challenges is just what you have heard right now, being termed as opposition, being termed as too hard. That has been a very difficult point to toe that line. But by and by, not so many.
10 years now.
Yes.
If you were to give yourself a percentage, what would it be?
Of course, I would give myself 99% good percentage, good performance.
Yes, that is as SEDU.
Yes.
But let's be realistic. What would you give yourself right now?
Yes.
Because you set goals.
Yes. And those are the goals that I am talking about. And I'm saying that I would give myself 99%. The reason why I'm giving myself 99%, right now the Attorney General tabled reforms in Parliament on 25th of July, 2019. On those tabled bills is SEDU's recommendations. The Attorney General says this recommendation, this reform, came from SEDU and the Electoral Commission, which means we have worked very well with the Electoral Commission for 10 years. We may have had our hiccups, but really.
Which brings me to my next question. Do you feel that you get enough support from politicians and the people that should be giving you that help? Do you feel like you're getting enough support from the government, from the opposition, from the people, from parliamentarians, from the people in the circle that you're trying to help or work within? I
think we are getting a lot of support from citizens, which I am so eternally grateful for, because the citizens appreciate what we do. And from government circles, a minimal support. We do have support from good quarters, but we would want that support to grow.
Okay.
from civil society as well. Thank you for the support.
She gave herself and said 98?
99.
99%.
Yes.
That 1% is just reserved, I think. What percentage would you give them?
Well,
when you look at their contribution,
it was constituted,
yeah.
I think it would be around maybe 30 or
30%.
Why?
Yeah.
Because if you want to, own the participation of citizens and the increase in percentage, I think that is something that we should look into. Why? One, every election, the number of voters increase.
Yeah.
And for the first time, we are getting 2016 and 2021, we are getting high numbers because we are having quite a number of population of the young people who are the immunized bazukulu, who are crossing over. And if that happens, it is because too, but also the other thing is forgetting is the issue of literacy, the issue of education that government has popularized and put at the center stage.
Okay.
That now citizens, you rarely have, maybe if you to look at the elderly, but you have very few people who cannot interpret what is on the ballot paper, which was not the case before. And now that people are educated and they are literate, it is easy for them to participate in such processes because they know the importance.
Anderson, let's help them.
And where I think they shouldn't even have that is that they have not so much participated in civic education.
Okay.
They have not so much, we have not seen a campaign that has come up
to educate,
a vigorous campaign to educate.
Let me give you this opportunity, Anderson. We have just a minute to go. You give them 38, 35?
30, 40.
40%. Okay.
40.
Let's you help them so that the next time they are celebrating, let's say 15 years, they are at 99% where they want to be. What should they do?
One is balancing the boat, something she was saying.
Yes, balance the boat.
If something is wrong, let it be wrong across the board.
Okay.
Two is focus on improving the participation of citizens, because the electoral reforms that we are advocating for is as a result of voters not understanding what to do. So we focus on educating the masses. 3 is looking at these processes and supporting, because the government is the enabler to help government and not to undermine or maybe to fail it, but to help it, to make sure that it reaches, that it also educates, that it also, there's that friendly demand, to make sure that these enablers that could help the citizens, the process, and everyone are agreed upon. That, like you said, you rarely appreciate what government has done, but you popularize the wrong. And that also is a mishap in the processes. So those 3 would help SEDU shoot, to the 90% she wishes that she does.
Thank you very much. First, say thank you to Anderson for giving
No.
I'm just
No, I cannot. You're pushing me the wrong way. No, I cannot. He rated me very wrongly. You should have had the Electoral Commission here to rate me. We've done civic education. Has been our thrust. Without SEDU, they would not have been this pressure and this love for elections and the looking forward to elections.
I do understand your position here, but unfortunately we've run out of time.
Yes.
But I'm going to give you, because this is your day
to commemorate.
Yes, to commemorate 10 years.
Yes.
Your last word as your parting shot.
My parting shot is that you are all welcome to attend the 19th, is Monday, 19th August, starting at 8:30 a.m. at our offices in Nsambia. Please make sure you come. If you love SEDU, you've been there, you have seen the things that we have done over the last 10 years, you know that the processes would not have reached where they are. We've done voter education with one heart. Actually, we pushed the president to start the national initiative on civic education. That is why I'm very disappointed that Anthony could even raise this. And we've sat with UNDP, we've sat with Uganda Human Rights Commission, all bodies of government to try and push one agenda, civic education and voting.
congratulations on the 10
Thank
years.
you very much.
We will definitely come for the celebration.
Please do come
I will
in big
bring-
numbers
I'll bring Anderson.
Bring Herbert to learn more.
Okay, thank you very much. For our for our Tech Note session today, we have had Charity Ahindisiwe from Citizens Coalition for Electoral Democracy in Uganda, and Herbert Anderson, the Deputy Resident City Commissioner for Nakawa Division. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We look forward to those celebrations, and we will definitely come if that invite is sent to us. Right about now, let me link up to Steve.